Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today. This is a program organized by the Academics for Democratic Rights. So we are a voluntary group of academics based in institutes across the country. And we work on questions of democratic rights as interpreted very broadly in academic spaces in India. But in this case, given the gravity of the occurrences that are happening in Palestine, we have also been active on the issue of Israel and Palestine. And so we are really glad today to be joined by members of the Right to Education campaign from Birzeit University, because it is, and it's really an honor for us that, Ahmed and Sundas have taken the effort to join us, even though these are obviously extremely difficult times. And even for the rest of us, this is a very valuable and important opportunity to hear directly the testimony of people who are currently in Palestine. So we hope to have a very fruitful interaction. We had one at our institute a few months back, and that was very moving and very fruitful, and I hope this one will be too. So Ronak will chair the session and introduce the speakers, and I'll give over the floor to him. So Ronak, please take it away.
Hi. Yeah, so Sundas Hamad is the coordinator of the Right to Education campaign at Birzeit University in occupied Palestine, and she has held this role for over 12 years. So she's a dedicated human rights advocate, has a master's degree in international studies, and is deeply committed to social justice and academic freedom, particularly within the context of Zionist colonialism. Ahmad Sabobe is a recent graduate from Birzeit University, where he did engineering and computer science. He is also a volunteer in the Right to Education campaign and also other organizations. With that introduction, let me share the slides and let's go. Yeah, you guys.
So, can we
Yeah,
start?
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for having us, me and Ahmed, for the second time with you. It's such a pleasure to be with you. Also, that it's our second time being connected with India and Indian institutions. So we feel honored to be on your platform. So our presentation will be about scholasticide mainly, and we will speak about how it's connected with the genocide that is happening currently in Gaza for more than 420 days. So next slide, please. So we will speak about the right to education in the context of the settler colonialism, why it was established. We'll speak about Palestine and Palestinians now, how they are living, and we'll speak about scholasticide, and then we will have a call to action. Next slide. Thank you. So first of all, the Right to Education campaign is a campaign that was established in 1988 at the time of the first uprising in Palestine. At that time, all schools, universities, even nurseries were closed by military orders from the Israeli occupation, considering that education is illegal for Palestinians. So by military orders from the Israeli occupation, our university, for example, Birzeit University, was closed for 51 consecutive months. And students at that time couldn't reach campus, and they started an underground system of education where they started education in the houses of students, houses of academics, and in the churches, in mosques, sometimes even in cars at the times of curfews. All of that just to continue their education. Next slide, please. If you can go, to all the timeline, please. Thank you. So since it was established as a university in 1972, Birzeit University has unfortunately been targeted to so many violations from the Israeli occupation. From the exile of its first president, Dr. Hanna Nasser, to the 15 times of closures by military orders from the 1972 until the 1988, and also the restriction of movement to its students and faculty members and employees along the years, with having checkpoints right in front of the campus main road, that made it really difficult for students to reach campus. And today there are like many different violations that are, some of them are visible, some of them are invisible regarding the occupation. We will go to that during this presentation. Now I will, so yeah, I'm sorry. Just from that, like the targeting of education has led us to initiate the Right to Education campaign in 1988 to document these violations and to raise awareness internationally and to advocate for the right to education for Palestinian students and academics, and for academic freedom for Palestinians. Also, since we are based on voluntary work, we work on empowering our student volunteers in order to speak out about what is going on in Palestine, about their experiences, and do an action worldwide regarding it. I will now leave the space for my colleague Ahmed to speak about Palestine and the situation now.
Okay, thank you, Sandos, and hello, everyone. It is very nice to see you again. Last event was very successful, and this one, I hope it will be too, and I hope that we will see more events and info sessions with Indian universities and Indians in general. So after speaking about the Right to Education campaign, next we want to tell you more about Palestine and Palestinians so that you can understand more the context of genocide and scholasticide. So I picked this map to show you because this map is very, very simple and it can show you most of the info that I want to highlight in this session. So I took this from Instagram by Marianne. This map shows the majority of Palestinian lands. There's also a part in the south that is not visible. But here you can see the West Bank on the right and Gaza on the left. And in gray, you can see the occupied territories, which is now called, unfortunately, the State of Israel. So you can see on the left, there's the Gaza Strip completely besieged and colored in orange. And this is, of course, before the 7th of October and before the start of this genocide that is happening against Gazans. So it was literally an open air prison. You can see that they also have no access to the sea with this dotted only fishing zone. And from other parts, it is surrounded by segregation wall, like literally a wall that is a bunch of meters high up that nobody can cross with intelligent defense systems. On the right-hand side, and the place that we are currently living in and giving you this webinar from, is the West Bank. The West Bank is the other part of the Palestinian territories, and it is not a territory anymore, it is island. As you can see, Palestinian areas which are in orange are so much separated. And on the ground, when you see like more clear maps showing all the checkpoints and all of the Israeli controlled roads, it is much, much, much worse than what you see here in the map. So it is much more separated, and that's why West Bank is heavily controlled by the Israeli occupation forces, and there has been no much resistance coming from the West Bank because they are controlling everything that we do in our daily lives. So those were the first two parts of Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. The third part are Palestinians who stayed in the occupied territories, who refused to leave their lands and homes, even though they got massacred, and they managed to stay in their houses. Those are a couple of millions inside what's called Israel now, and they are forced to carry Israeli permits or Israeli passports. The fourth part of Palestinians are Palestinians in Jerusalem, and those are different from the ones living in the occupied territories because they are not allowed to carry an Israeli passport. They do not have a passport. They only have a temporary Jordanian passport and a travel permit. So they are neither Palestinian passport holders nor Israeli passport holders. The fifth part is Palestinians in the diaspora, and those are the Palestinians who were expelled from their houses and villages during 1948, 1967, and other massacres that did happen and is happening in Palestine. The sixth and last part in Palestine is Palestinians in refugee camps, and refugee camps also because of the Palestinians being expelled from the occupied territories. Many of them went to Jerusalem, to West Bank and Gaza, running away from the killing to live in camps together inside the West Bank and Gaza. And that's why you hear a lot in the news, camp, because, and this is like what we call camps. So those are the six parts of Palestinians, and we wanted just for you to know I tried to keep it general as much as I can, but of course, if you have any questions, we can dive deeper in the questions. Now let's go to the other side or other part of our presentation, which is the Scholasticide happening in Palestine. And I guess Sundos can start introducing you to this.
So hello again, everyone. We start our presentation with a simple question, which is why education in Palestine is being systematically targeted. And we believe that in settler colonialism in Palestine, it's part and parcel of the settler policy to control the land and the people, to have people ignorant, because ignorance is a potent ally of that settler colonialism. And it will force the status quo to the indigenous people of the land. So while education, as Palestinians, we consider education as a tool of resistance, resilience, and a tool to lead us to our liberation as Palestinians and to our self-determination. So also, it's really important to say that education in Palestine was considered by the Israeli occupation as a battleground of narratives. Which narrative has the power? The narrative of the occupier or the narrative of the Palestinian people who are occupied. So in education, it's a way we preserve that narrative, our identity as Palestinians, our culture. And that's why when we look at Gaza today and the amount of the systematic destruction today that is referred to as scholasticide, and which is actually not a new term. This is a term that was coined by Dr. Karma Nabilsi in 2009 in the first assault on Gaza by the Israeli occupation after the siege. And she was speaking about scholasticide as the systematic destruction of education and educational institutions. And today we see that in so many shapes and ways. It's not only the institution that is being targeted, it's the people who produce the knowledge in these institutions. It's the students, it's the academics and intellectuals. And scholasticide today became not only referring to Gaza as well, but also what is happening systematically in the West Bank regarding targeting of students and student movement, etc. So can you please go to the next slide? If you look at this map, it shows the fragmentation that Ahmed was speaking about, the different type of Palestinians that we have been forced to be actually under the settler colonialism, where since 1948 until today, you see the amount of fragmentation where the West Bank even, we cannot today connect with cities in the West Bank. Since the start of the war, more than 600 checkpoints are permanent checkpoints are in the West Bank, and in Gaza, as you see, like it's a unfolding genocide where even before that it was sieged for 17 years, but now it's like really impossible for anyone to get out of that. And next slide, please. So we consider also education for us as Palestinians as essential and fundamental human rights that leads us to our full human rights. So it's not a privilege as the Israeli occupation is trying to make it. When in Nakba 1948, we built schools out of tents and out of we built schools in the middle of the deserts because at that time more than half of our population was exiled, but we still had schools in the nowhere, you can say. And in the first uprising, as I told you, we challenged the military orders of closure, and we held cells and underground system of education in very unfamiliar ways. And please, next slide. And today in Gaza, out of tents, they are building schools and universities, and they have resumed their education since June. They have resumed the universities there has resumed their education, online education and teaching since last June and this year, June. So it's amazing to see the resilience of these people while there is a genocide amidst the unprecedented, like, horrific massacres between the rebels. They are like focusing on their future, like, because they are seeing that the hope in their future will be through education. Next slide, please. Yes. Please, now Ahmed will speak about it.
Okay, I will also continue to give you more examples of scholasticide. And when we talk about scholasticide, it's not the scholasticide happening in Gaza. It is the academic violations that have been going against Palestinians since the start of the Israeli occupation. So
Sorry, what happened?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I got a phone call.
Okay, let me just
Yeah.
1 second.
I cannot see the slides. Are you sharing the slides?
I'm just doing it. 1 second.
Yes, we were on the previous slide. Okay, thank you. So I was saying that this scholasticide is happening against Palestinians everywhere. The genocide is happening now in Gaza, but the academic violations have been going against Palestinians since the start of the occupation. Whether we, as Palestinians in the West Bank, we get our universities continuously raided and students continuously abducted. Also, Palestinians who are forced to carry those Israeli passports are also forced who are forced to carry those Israeli passports also do face a lot of violations. For example, like since the start of this genocide in Gaza, anybody who shows empathy with anybody in Gaza, shares stories, they do arrest him, and a lot of these arrests are under administrative detention, which is holding someone in prison for no charge against him. And also they have been continuously being prevented from their rights to speak and being harassed by their Israeli schoolmates in universities, because they also do study in Israeli universities now, those Palestinians living in the occupied territories. Also, Palestinians in Jerusalem are also facing the same violations, in addition to restriction of movement, because since the start of this genocide, a lot of more new checkpoints, Israeli checkpoints, have been established, and they have been like when a soldier decides to close a checkpoint, he just closed it, and he just ruins the day or the week of a bunch of thousand Palestinians who are willing to cross this border. So back to Scholasticide, let's see more examples of Scholasticide in West Bank and Gaza. First of all, you can see here the Israeli attack on the higher education and an example from Birzeit. You can see the Israeli military order for closure, and this happened at the 1987. So this is nothing new. This is nothing after October 7th. It is something that has been happening to us since the start of the establishment of what's so-called the State of Israel. Next slide, please. Another example is another university in West Bank. It's called Al-Quds University, and Al-Quds University is right next to the apartheid wall that cuts the path of 70% of the students of the university. You can see the apartheid wall just behind this university, and also there's a surveillance tower very close to university, and a lot of clashes do usually happen there, and a lot of people have been shot, and some of them has been killed there. Next, please. Okay, so more about the education under attack. There you can see those two examples. On the left, this is the gate of Birzeit University, the university that we are at right now, and these are photos of Israeli military and jeeps just closing the doors of the university, preventing anybody to reach the university. And this is also nothing old. This did happen this week. The Israeli army did storm Birzeit University. This is, I think, third or fourth time since the start of October 7th.
No, it's the third time this year.
Yeah, third time this year after.
And it's the fourth time since October 7th.
Yeah, third this year and fourth since October 7th. And they abducted 2 students and assaulted the security guards that were present at night when they raided. And also they stole some stuff and ruined some things that go back to the student union. On the right, you can see a graduation ceremony held and an Israeli jeep interrupting it. Next, please. Here you can also see more from Birzeit University suffering in the West Bank, where when Israeli forces decided to prevent all vehicles from getting close to Birzeit, and students were forced to walk a bunch of kilometers in order to reach their education. And this happened, and it is still happening because those Israeli checkpoints are continuously put in various parts in the West Bank. What's this?
Yes, so this is to continue what Ahmed said, that it's not a new thing. During the 90s, actually, after the Oslo Accords, the peace accords in Palestine, there was still a lot of harassment for our students, and this is like a leaflet that was made by students to command the academic freedom for Gaza students who were prevented from entering campus and had to get a permit actually to get to West Bank universities. Next slide, please. These are some of the photos of raids on the campus in the middle of the night, while unfortunately, in the recent years, we also had many raids on campus in the middle of the day while students were in campus, and at some incidents where there were abducting students in front of the main gate of the university, or from by a special soldiers or special forces from the Israeli occupation, disguised by in a civilian clothes, to enter to just raid campus as student journalists, and they were disguised as student journalists, and they abducted in 2018, for example, Omar Kiswani, who was at that time the president of the student council. So unfortunately, we had that incident quite often, and it's like there's no security for the campus or the university campus, and it's like they're violating any international law regarding protecting the spaces of intellectual and knowledge. Next slide, please. And regarding students, I just want to say briefly, as Ahmed said, like the student movement is being targeted in all Palestinian universities by either arresting students or unfortunately killing them. And these photos from the funeral of students, a student martyr in 2019, Fadi Washaha. And unfortunately, he was sniped by an Israeli soldier. Next slide, please. Today, we have more than 140 students who are still under arrest. And as Ahmed said, more than half of, 8 of them has been arrested after the 7th of October, and half of these are under administrative detention. And among these, 9 female students. Next slide, please. We have currently 38, unfortunately, 38 Birzeit University students who got killed by the Israeli occupation. In November 2022, we lost 3 of our students in 1 month. Actually, 2 of them are brothers, Dhafir and Jawad Rimawi, who got killed in the same night. Unfortunately, both of them were just walking in their village while a sudden raid by the Israeli soldiers on their village happened, and they sniped one of them. He was calling for his brother for help, and then when he reached out to his brother, they sniped the other one. Next slide, please. This year, we lost Aysar Safi, a 19 years old student who was demonstrating along with other students peacefully in the demonstration marking the 76 years of Al-Nakba, which is the catastrophe that happened in 1948. Aysar, he was sniped by the Israeli soldier, but what is really sad about Aysar, that not only we lost him and we lost his soul, but also that his brother and his father were in prison, in the Israeli prison, when he got killed, so they couldn't say goodbye to him. And yes, please, next slide. So as Ahmed mentioned, the fight today is not only on the ground, but also on the narrative and on the about Palestinian identity in the textbooks and the curricula. And we, as Palestinians, have long history of battle in the curricula, because we had never had the opportunity to write and speak about our own culture and history in our textbooks until the 1992, the establishment of the Palestinian Authority. But even then, we had many layers of censorship by the Israeli government, by international community and international governance, who were like just trying to impose their agendas to have an anti-Israeli biased curricula. And that meant to erase our history in that history and geography books and in Arabic books. Those are the books that are until today censored every year, to change the curricula, to have to raise a question every year, how to view Israel. Is it the neighboring country, or is it the occupier? And that question actually was raised first by Dr. Ali Jarbawi when they were about to establish our first curriculum in 1992. How to view Israel and how to speak the truth in these curricula. What about the next generation of Palestinian students who will face a different reality on the ground, but will teach about different things about Palestine in their curricula? And that's really dangerous, because that's about occupying our minds and about our identity in these textbooks. Unfortunately, I have to leave here. I will continue. I will I will leave now, but Ahmed will continue the presentation. I'm so sorry that I have to leave now, but I have an urgency because tomorrow actually we will have we will have a running marathon in different universities in campuses around the West Bank, with all proceedings going to Gaza universities who were destroyed by this war. Ahmed will speak about the Scholasticide in Gaza, but we are having actually currently also a week of action regarding Scholasticide called United Against Scholasticide, and we are really happy that you guys had us today. And this is part of what we are trying to do to empower and amplify the voices of those who are left in Gaza today under a really, really hard situations. So thank you so much for having me and for having us today. And I will leave you now with Ahmed. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thanks a lot, Sandos.
Thank you. Okay, so I can continue from here. So we are now at the digital rights violations, right? Okay. So more on the violations against the Palestinian education system is what has happened in the elections in Birzeit University. So in Birzeit University, we do elections for every year for the student council. And because those are acts of freedom, and because we do participate our only act of freedom inside the universities, also Israeli occupation did not like that, and they choose to try to prevent this from happening. How? They sent threat messages to student phones. Of course, their intelligence got all of the student numbers, and they sent messages to students threatening them to participate in voting for a couple of parties inside the student elections that were going inside Birzeit. So they do closely monitor all of our student life. They have a dedicated Israeli military captain for each university, for each village, for each town. So for Birzeit University, there's a military captain who is responsible to monitor all of the student actions with his team. He calls them when they do activism, and he when they deny to listen to him, he sends special forces to kidnap them or sometimes get them from their home after destroying their home. Next slide, please. So you might be wondering here, why are we showing you all of these evidences? Why do we care to show you all of those violations against education and against Palestinians in general? Well, we care to deny the allegations that Israel is doing in what's happening in Gaza in terms of time and place. So since the start of genocide and Scholasticide, Israel have been saying that this is a response to what has happened in the 7th of October. But in terms of time, you can see that since the 1948, there has been a continuous violations against Palestinians and the Palestinian education system. And also in terms of place, you can see that the West Bank, there is no Hamas, there is no resistance, but there is still continuous loss of land, there is continuous imprisoning and kidnapping, there is a continuous killing of Palestinian civilians. So this is not related to Gaza, and this is not related to any time that they try to tell you that this is something that they have been doing for decades, and they are continuing to do it, and they say it to the public that we are going to take the West Bank, and they do not care about the international law. Just a quick information, the West Bank is considered a Palestinian territory, all of it, all of the areas of the West Bank, even by the international law. The international law says that it belongs to Palestinians, and they have the right to do whatever they want in it. But still, Israel has an expanding presence inside the West Bank, and they have their settlements here, they have their police, they have their networks, homes, and everything that they are taking gradually the West Bank that we live in right now. That's why we're talking about scholasticide. And do you think it is a scholasticide? I think it is really a scholasticide, especially what is happening in Gaza, because here's some facts from Gaza. You can see since October 7th, Israel has killed at least 10,000 students and injured more than 16,000. Also, 17 higher education institutions in Gaza have been left paralyzed. They have they intended to destroy and paralyze all of the higher education systems in Gaza. And each time they claim that there's military operation there, there is resistance fighters hiding there, but they provide no proof, and they continue to wipe out all of the education system and schools, universities, and any other thing in Gaza. Next, please. Okay, so more facts about Gaza and why is this a scholasticide? Well, there's over 600,000 primary and secondary school students who are left without their right to education. Why? Because since the start of October 7th, many schools have been bombed, and those that were not bombed are used as shelters, and there is no safe environment or place for students to practice their education, and hence our students in Gaza unfortunately lost a full year of their education. So there is a 1 year gap now in all of their lives because they could not do it for this year, and unfortunately we are entering the second month in the second year. So they might be also losing their second year of education. You can see that there is also more than 500 school teachers who have been killed, more than 370 schools who were damaged, and this is 76 of the schools, 76% of the schools, and 117 schools sustained major damages. More of photos about universities before and after. On the left, there's the Islamic University of Gaza. On the right, there's Al-Azhar University before and after. Here's Al-Aqsa University. You can see Al-Aqsa University being completely rubble after the Israeli invasion and military operation. Here is a list. I think it is the most updated list of the professors and university presidents and deans who were assassinated by Israel since the start of the war. I think on this list there is 80 something, but now they are documented 134 professors who have been assassinated by Israel during this genocide. Next, we just want to tell you that you can really make difference, and by you I mean Palestinians and pro-Palestinians all around the globe. Even if you are not in Palestine, you are not bordering Palestine, but you can still make a difference. Can you go to the next please? No, next one. Yeah, thank you. So this is just to show you the impact and which narrative is winning and what do people and nations really see who is the one who has the right. Here's a report by Reuters, and this was on October 27th, not this October 27th, the one in 2023. And you can see just how much the amount of pro-Palestinian demonstrations versus the pro-Israeli demonstrations that has happened around the globe. And of course, after more than 12 months from this stat, there has been so much increase in numbers. And I think in the percentage between both sides, of course, in favor of Palestine. And what we want to tell you is that just your voice can matter, and just you doing simple things like boycotting Israeli Academy makes big impacts on the longer scale. Next, please. So more on the call to action and how can Indian universities and all universities around the globe help prevent this from happening, even though they are not in Palestine. So first of all, ending the complicity in genocide and all its levels, and in occupation and in the apartheid by your higher education institution. By the way, I saw that you, I think ACDR published a report or a document about when they divested and messaged the IISC director to call to prevent the Indo-Israeli summit from happening. Things like this, even though I do not know if it did happen or not after all the summit, these things and small initiatives really make matter when it is continuous and when you get more people to do it, because academic boycott is a very, very important part from the boycott that Palestine that should be done against Israel, and what the BDS movement is doing in general. Next, please. Another thing that you can support with is supporting Gaza universities who are now in urgent need for international help. First of all, by rebuilding demolished universities, because as you saw, all of the universities are destroyed. Now, thankfully, some universities were able to restore their online education. There's 2 or 3 now universities in Gaza who managed to get back their education system online, and students started learning remotely. So such initiatives are very impactful and good ways of support. Second, there is rejecting plans that weaken Gazan higher education institutions and also collaborating with Israeli institutions. You must stop all of these plans of collaboration. Third, coordinating efforts for building relation with Palestinian universities. As you know, Israel is trying to repress the Palestinian education system, especially higher education, as much as they can. They do limit the number of university professors or academics or exchange students and staff who can go from and out of Palestine. And this is very clear why they are doing it. They do not people to see the truth on the ground, and they do not people going out and sending the narrative around. And that's why they have prevented a lot of professors from coming to Palestine and limited the number of people who go on exchange programs. Next, please. Okay. Third major thing that you can do is raising awareness, and raising awareness is a very important thing, especially in countries where you see a lot of people who are pro-Israeli. And unfortunately, I think India is one of those countries. I do see a lot of people from India who post pro-Israeli things. I know maybe they are not the majority, maybe it is not the whole population, of course, but there are people who are extremely pro-Israel. I do not know why, but after all, our aim is to deliver the truth, is to tell people who are the occupier and who are the oppressed. And people, I think, will shift their opinions about what's happening. So you can do that by a lot of things, by information sessions like this. You can send us a direct education campaign, and we can arrange stuff like that. You can also do webinars, local webinars at your universities. You can do marathons or big events to highlight the scholasticide or genocide against Palestinians, like the one that is happening tomorrow in Birzeit and in multiple universities in the UK and in the US. They have been rallies and marathons to highlight the violations against Palestinian education. Also, you can do film screenings and other stuff. As you know, after all, you know your community better, you know your universities better, and I think you know how to leave a positive impact on the people around you better than us, but we are more than happy to help you with that. This is the banner of the United Against Scholasticide Week. It is the week that we are in now, and this event is taking place now, and multiple events. Today alone we have 3 events like this. Tomorrow we have 2, and all over the week we have a bunch of them. Also, this week is until the 30th of this month. But of course, it is not only this week. This week is to highlight what's happening, but you can reach out to us at any time you want to plan or arrange anything that you want. Here is the contact details against from the Right to Education. We will leave this a bit here so that if you want to see the website, you want to contact us through Facebook, through email, through Twitter, through Instagram, you can take a photo maybe of this and come back to it later if you want to collaborate with the Right to Education campaign. And this is it from me. Thanks a lot. Sorry, Sundus had to leave and she won't be here for the Q&A, but I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you have if I know their answer.
Thanks a lot, Aman. Yeah, it's very heartbreaking to hear everything. And yeah, so if there are any questions, maybe people can ask them now.
I had a question. Maybe I can start with that. Thank you very much, Ahmed, for the talk.
Suraj, sorry, just there were also questions in the chat after you. Maybe you can also read them if you want after your question. One posted 2 questions in the chat also.
Sorry.
You can go ahead after that. We can.
Okay, fine, sure. Okay, thank you very much, Ahmed, for this very powerful presentation. We're very sorry Sundar had to leave. I hope things are okay and it's not a serious emergency. So I hope it's relatively okay. Okay, so the question I had was something we discussed, in fact, the last time also, but I think we weren't able to make progress. Is apart from the issue of boycott, one thing that we can help with is in providing educational resources to people both in West Bank and Gaza virtually. That's something that we can do quite easily. So last time you had mentioned that there was a way that this could be done, but then I think we were not able to get more details about that. So is that something you could please explain? Because there are many people here who teach at universities across different parts of India, and who would all be very happy to help in this way and probably also be useful.
Yes, of course. So you're talking about the virtual universities and virtual initiatives that have been going to help Gazan students who lost their universities. And there's, I think, 2 or 3 popular campaigns that are getting teachers to help educating Gazan students. And also, I heard that some professors are helping with Birzeit University and An-Najah University initiatives. We also shared, I think, resources last time with you by email. I didn't know if you did circulate them or not. But I think things did change a little bit between last time we talked and now, because now some universities in Gaza are back to e-learning, and they are the major lecturing institutions in Gaza right now. So, like West Bank universities are not anymore that active in providing remote teaching for Gaza. But I know that there is still some initiatives who are giving higher education. To be honest, I do not have a lot of details about them. I can look more for them after the session and give you links that you can share with the attendees. Yeah, this is a way. Another way I also saw, but do not have names or links now, a lot of initiatives that are like giving mentorship for Gazan students to get their masters or PhDs in more countries, and providing PhD maybe offers for those Gazan students to continue their education and master opportunities. I saw a bunch of opportunities in Europe and in the United States. So maybe, I don't know if you can or anybody have connections who can provide anything like this to Gazan students through the organizations who facilitate this. Also, there is some initiatives that help to get remote work for Gazan, like, for example, IT engineers and stuff. So I think those are the initiatives that are close to what you are describing. Maybe if anybody in the chat know anything related to this, can post it, and if we get the names, I will send them to you by email.
Okay, thank you. Before I read out the questions, I have a suggestion. It would be nice if people could just unmute and ask the question. We don't have to have questions in the chat. So Ronak, do you want to make the order and call out on people who have posted questions in the chat? Because I saw suddenly a lot of people have posted questions in the chat.
Okay, thanks a lot for the questions. For the email, I think it would be better if you can contact through the Right Education campaign, and many of us do follow up closely with this email, so you can send any questions to there, and we will be happy to answer.
I copied the contact details for Right to Education in the chat for anyone who wants it.
Thank you.
So one thing is, Alok has shared an email ID for those who are interested in teaching in Gaza in the chat. And now we have a question by Pamela Philippos. Pamela, are you there? guess she might not be here, but maybe I can just ask it anyway, since it might be an interesting question for people. So, as you know, we've seen a massive wave of student support against the genocide, especially in the US and Europe. And question is, have you managed to build any bridges with those who have set up encampments in these places and so on?
I did not get the first part of the question. Can you say it again?
So basically, it's about the student movement in the US and Europe, where they set up encampments in support of Gaza and against the genocide. So, have you managed to build any bridges with the organizers of these encampments?
Well, yes. To be honest, the Right to Education campaign, I'm speaking like on behalf of the Right to Education campaign, is open to all collaboration from all pro-Palestinian institutions or movements. We only care to highlight as a campaign the violations against academy and against the education system in general. So if those students from those encampments reach out to us asking us to do a webinar on the Palestinian education system and violations against it, we did a couple of those webinars, and we are happy to do more of them. So yes, if it is related to education, we have done, and we are continuing to do a lot of this stuff.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I think Mohsin had a question. Mohsin Shirazi.
Oh,
Ahmad, Assalamu alaikum. At first, we would like to thank all the organizers, and we'd like to offer condolences for all the things that are happening at your side. Believe me, every night ever since massacres happened has been tragic to many people, and I am one of them. There's not a prayer that goes by wherein I do not pray for people of Quds and people of Palestine, and also the oppressed people of the world. My son is right now with me, and he's just 11 years old. And not a day goes by where he also does not feel the same sympathy for the people of Palestine and also the children. So the question that he asked, maybe I'll give it to him. He'll ask it them directly.
How is the Hamas still active?
What he actually means to say is that with all this destruction around, how is it possible that they're still there? If it's a difficult question for you to answer, you can avoid that. But I'm particularly keen to understand that if you mentioned at a number of occasions that the education of a number of students has been destroyed completely, and if online classes is the way ahead, is there internet access or Starlink, something like that, available for such an initiative to be conducted?
Okay. First of all, thank you, and thanks for your little champion, your little son. Hello, tell him that I say hi. And thank you both for your solidarity with Palestine. Tell him that Palestinians and Palestinian children will get his message and do hear him. Regarding his question, to be honest, I do not know. I am not part of them, and nor the campaign. So maybe it is something that he and you want to look answers in other place, not in this webinar, educative webinar. Sorry for not being able to answer this. Regarding your question, yes, the internet has been one of the major problems in Gaza against education, and it is stopping a lot of initiatives from taking place because Israel destroyed all of the infrastructure of the telecommunication companies and networking in general in Gaza. So now I believe still their main source of internet is 3G and eSIMs that are operating from Egyptian providers mainly. Some Palestinian providers got back to operate, but in a very limited scale in both terms of places and of the amount of upload and download data that you get. So when those students are getting their education, they do struggle a lot with as simple as a Zoom meeting. They cannot enter a Zoom meeting because they get very, very little amount of internet for them to watch to watch their lectures. Also, most of the things need to be uploaded on Drive, for example, for them to be able to access it. Starlink is not valid or operating in Gaza. There was talks about it and people demanding Elon Musk to enable it at the start of the genocide, but I think he refused. I heard that lately they have tried to use it for humanitarian operations, but I am not sure that they did it or not. But for normal students, no, there is no good ways of internet, and this is a struggle that they are still facing with no solution to it.
I would like to make a suggestion over here. I understand the difficulty that you just mentioned. If and when the situation does become all right, and if there is a way for you to reach out to relevant authorities, I do not know if PLO is the right authority for this matter, but when the situation does become okay, if you all can apply to the government of India, in particular the Prime Minister, and ask for permission to move Palestinian students to India to study. This could be a possibility because government of India some time ago had, when the Afghanistan crisis was on, government of India had welcomed a number of Afghani students, and they were here on a short 2-year, 3-year program. Most of the students were poor and couldn't afford the courses. The tuition fee was supported by the government of India. I personally know a number of them who were in my city. The same applied even for Yemen. So such initiatives are there with the government of India. I do not know how it's supposed to be approached, but I'm sure these things work at a government to government level if PLO is the right authority through the Prime Minister and then the Education Minister, etc. Such a program is may be possible. Of course, all education over here in India, as you know, would be in English. So if that's not a challenge, then and if government of India does give this permission, then many students can cope up with what can cover whatever they have lost. I know the years have gone by, a year or two, but quality education definitely would enhance, and exposure to Indian education and Indian culture would be a great advantage. And this will also show India in a great way that we have been able to, provide education to many Palestinian and affected students. I know Israel will have a problem with it, but to hell with those bastards.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestion. To be honest, no, I have no connections.
Ahmad, you're muted.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I was saying thank you for the suggestion. Personally, I do not have connections with the government. I guess the responsible body for this is the Palestinian Authority itself. Inside the Palestinian Authority, there is an authority operating in Gaza, and there's an authority operating in the West Bank. They are kind of separated, and there are talks that Palestinian Authority in the West Bank are going to take over the work of the Palestinian Authority in Gaza. So it is a bit complicated to know who will be managing the post-war solutions for such things. For myself, I see that education of like at master's level and PhD level would be, if students get the chance to study in India or in other places outside Palestine, many students will apply for it. I know personally a lot of people who studied in India, of my relatives, like from the West Bank. So yeah, this is an option. For school level, I do not think it's applicable at this time. For bachelors, I also think there will be less numbers than masters and PhDs. But yeah, I think like has been already some studies and research being done on how will the post-genocide or war situation be like, and they must be investigating such scenarios.
I have a question, which is you mentioned that like you know what is taught in Palestinian universities is tightly controlled. But as we see, like the heroic resistance of the Palestinian people like never stops. So like the sort of knowledge must be propagating. Can you talk a little bit about how you are able to propagate that knowledge from generation to generation, even though you don't have access to teaching in these academic spaces?
Yes, well, like the Palestinians as people always believe in the power of education, and all. I do not know a single person who have not even at least gone through elementary and secondary. I guess it's called education, like in schools. So yes, it is something that all Palestinians families do care a lot about, and it is equal for both men and women. But in fact, Palestine has one of the largest percentages of women education in the Middle East, I think. So yeah, this is like just in our culture that we love education and we continue to do it. We also do study English in school. That's why a lot of us can speak English good. And that's why you see a lot of Palestinians going for opportunities outside Palestine. So I guess those are some part of the reasons. And like when the situation, the economical situation in the West Bank and Gaza gets very, very tight, you will look for an escape route everywhere. And like most people do view this as education, whether to educate yourself and get a job in Palestine or get education that qualify you to work remotely or outside of Palestine. So yeah, I guess this is the reason. Of course, there are students who do not continue university because of the hard financial situations, and they do go for labor directly, but majority will continue learning.
Thank you. And like just for the audience, I guess when you say Palestinians take education seriously, this is incredibly true, right? Because there are more universities in Gaza which are smaller than many cities than there are in most like than there are in many bigger places. Uh, yeah. I guess Suvrat also wanted to say something.
Actually, there's one more question someone sent me by direct message. I'll just ask. It's a question from Ramani. It's specific. It's about a question we asked also at the beginning. It was whether there was a need for teaching for public health for medical students in particular, because there is a group of doctors that has been taking online classes for students in Manipur, which is a state in India which has also been affected by violence. So I don't know that that's probably a follow-up of the question we asked, but maybe Ahmad, if you know something about that, you could say it, or you could get back to us later with resources and we can share it with the rest of the group.
Yeah, I guess even like in the medical field, there is a lot, and I think it is a very high percentage of Palestinians who do study medicine, like relatively to to the Palestinian population in West Bank and Gaza. So of course you will see a lot of medicine students who will look for such opportunities. Maybe if you want to reach out for people like this, it would be medical student associations in Gaza or in the West Bank, because there is a bunch of them. Or maybe I think there is a very strong organization, maybe it's called Doctors for Palestine or something like this. So yeah, there is organizations that you can reach to.
I think Amar Fatima also has a question. They've just posted in the chat.
Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, Mohammed. I hope you're doing well. And my question for you is, even though if we take the opportunity for teaching kids with Gaza, as you know that our government is not in favor, though the people are, alhamdulillah, and how safe it is, like what are the resources, how safe we also be here, any on that part?
I think my internet was weak. Did not hear the second part. How strong is what? Sorry.
Well, as I said, the government of India is not in favor of Palestine. Okay, so even if we take an opportunity to teach the kids, okay, so if we stay connected, so how safe are we also in India? Like that is question, like how we'll be connected to those kids.
Sorry, maybe I can interrupt here. Sorry, this might be a question which maybe we could address, if I understood it correctly, because this is a question about how safe we are with the government of India, right?
Yeah,
So maybe let's
exactly.
not.
Because
Yeah, let's not. I'm sorry interrupting, but maybe that's not a question for Ahmad to address. My feeling is we would be safe, but perhaps we could discuss that. Separate. I don't think there's right now any risk involved in we're doing something completely legitimate and fine. And I think
because recently when we did a campaign, a group of my friends, we did face the consequences here in Karnataka, like in Bangalore, we did a campaign with the silent march. Yeah, and there was a issue. So that's the reason.
Yeah, again, this is probably not the right place, but I think even though there is some repression on the streets, I don't think they're like invading Zoom meetings and WhatsApp messages and checking, because clearly a lot of people do have some connections, and yeah.
Yeah, this is true. Right now, I don't think any virtual activities have been disrupted because there is no law. So, I mean, just to bring Ahmed up to date, it is true that, in various places in India, there have not been demonstrations because there has been repression, and people have been arrested, including where I stay in Bangalore, just for going out and having protests in favor of Palestine. But a lot of this has been done by administrative police action. There's no law that is being broken. And so, surely at the virtual level where they can't take administrative action, there's nothing they can do. I mean, there's some amount of risk, but yeah, but perhaps, I mean, we'd be happy to discuss offline if we can. It's something we need to figure out in India amongst ourselves.
Sure, definitely. Looking forward.
Further, we should remember that whatever risk we are facing, it is very minor compared to what the Palestinians are facing. Yeah, just as a point. Yeah, any other questions?
Suvrit, may I ask a quick question?
Yes, of course, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Ahmad. This is Manali. I mean, it was extremely hopeful to listen to you. You're my son's age, probably. And, people like you give us hope. My question to you is, I mean, we have been talking about scholasticide and about how important education is. What we find over here, I am into academics, what we find over here is that formal education actually makes you a conformist. So what what probably all of us would like to know and learn from you is to be able to question the authority. I think that it is what probably Ronak also asked you, that how do once one is educated in the formal sense, one starts obeying the authority. So to have that right kind of education, to be able to question authority, to be able to question the oppressor, is what we would love to learn from you. So if you would like to take it up, or anyway by your actions, I kind of have the answer, but if you would like to take it up.
Well, to be honest, I do not have a precise answer for this, but I think if, like, in short, if I want to be as concise as I can, if you remain silent and accepted what is being placed upon you, like in terms of oppression, this oppression will continue and it will increase. But if you try to deny it and work against it, at least it won't increase at the same rate, or even things might get better. So trying to speak is better than remaining silent and watching things get worse.
Thanks, Ahmad.
Maybe to end it, a very quick question. Madhu typed it out. He's asking in terms of what are the kinds of financial support that we outside of Palestine can provide. So if you can quickly tell us that, and that would be a good note to end on, because we can all go and provide that financial support afterwards.
Well, the financial situation is not good in most of Palestine. I will not say it is very good in the West Bank. It is better than some Middle Eastern cities, but it is still bad. But of course, it won't be as much bad as it is in Gaza now. So I would say if anybody want to donate anything, it shouldn't be for us people in the West Bank. It should be for Gazans who lost all of their lives, who are facing high prices, and who are looking to get education and even get food and covers for their children. So I think it would be Gazans campaigns for fundraising. It would be your go-to if you want to donate money.
Yeah, thanks. And for the audience, we can circulate a list of GoFundMe's and so on on the registration email list.
Okay, there are no more questions, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so thank you so much, Ahmed. Thank you so much, all of you for joining. And do you have any last words, Ranak, or close the meeting?
I guess from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you all, and please do not hesitate to contact us if you want to do any meetings, webinars, even if it was only 4 or 5 people around you on your campus. We would be more than happy to speak out and educate. So thank you, everyone, and see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.